Buenas, and half a day, everyone. Thank you for being here. The Committee on Culture and Justice is now called to order. Today's Thursday, July 19, 2018. The time is 9:08. Notices for this public hearing were disseminated via email to all senators and all main media broadcasting outlets on July 12, 2018, and again on July 17. The notice was also published in the Guam Daily Post on July 12 and in the Pacific Daily News on July 14, 16, and 17, 2018. We've got 3 agenda items this morning. First will be the appointment of Jonathan R. Quan to be a magistrate judge of the Superior Court. Second will be the appointment of Mike Crisostomo to serve as a member to the Criminal Injuries Compensation Commission. The third item on the agenda will be Bill number 238-34 COR, introduced by Louise B. Muña, an act to amend Section 161.55 of Chapter 161, Title 8, Guam Code Annotated, relative to the definition of violent crimes as it relates to criminal injuries compensation. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of my colleagues, starting with the Speaker Benjamin Cruz, Senator Will Castro, Senator Louise Muña, Senator Regine Lee, Senator Tomas Ada, and Senator Mary Camacho Torres. First on our agenda will be the appointment of Jonathan R. Quan. I'd like to ask those who've signed up to testify on Mr. Quan. There are several people, so I'm going to call you in order of those who signed up. If you are willing to present oral testimony, as indicated, I'm going to call you to please have a seat at the panel. Lorenzo Roberto, Peter Santos, John Weisenberger, Dana Gutierrez, the Attorney General, Elizabeth Barrett Anderson, and Andrew Sergio Kenga. Fred Nishihara, Stephen Stettenbenz, okay, we'll stop there. Before we hear from the panel, I'd like to first read what the current statute says regarding magistrates as stated in 4401 of Chapter 4, Title 7, Guam Code Annotated. Subsection A, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Guam may appoint such magistrates as are necessary for the proper administration of justice. A magistrate shall be appointed as follows. 1. Upon request by the Chief Justice, the Guam Bar Association will solicit interest for the position of magistrate. 2. The Guam Bar Association will then submit the names of 3 candidates to the Chief Justice. 3. The Chief Justice must appoint the magistrate from the list provided by the Guam Bar Association. 4. The appointment by the Chief Justice is subject to the approval of a legislator in Guahan. And B. A magistrate shall 1. Serve a 4-year term, removable for cause. 2. Be at least 30 years of age. 3. Meet the qualifications required of a Superior Court judge, as articulated by Sections 3109 of Title 7, Guam Code Annotated. He must be a member in good standing of the Guam Bar Association. Must not have been convicted of any felony or any misdemeanor involving moral turpitude. Must not be related by blood within the 3rd degree of consanguinity or marriage to a judge or justice of the courts of Guam at the time of his or her initial appointment. Must be subject to the same ethical standards as a Superior Court judge or justice, to include the Guam rules for judicial disciplinary enforcement, and must receive a salary no greater than 90% of a judge who is not the presiding judge. As assigned by the Chief Justice, a magistrate shall 1. Preside over and render decisions and judgments in small claims cases, traffic cases, change of name petitions, and collection cases, and may grant uncontested divorces in cases where there is a notarized consent on file. He may enter judgment upon confession of judgment or default judgment in a civil case where a party alleges a sum certain is due. He may preside over post-judgment collection proceedings in civil cases and restitution judgments in criminal cases, and issue writs of execution and other orders in such proceedings. He may preside over first appearances of criminal defendants and arraignments in criminal cases, set bail and order pretrial release conditions, take pleas, including accepting guilty pleas in misdemeanor cases, sentencing misdemeanors, and entering judgments accordingly. He may issue summons, issue bench warrants, and hear return of warrants in all cases to which assigned. He may preside over matters which may be heard by a referee of the Superior Court of Guam, may serve as a special master upon appointment by the presiding judge, may serve as a judge pro tem upon appointment by the Chief Justice. A thorough background investigation was conducted to ensure compliance with these requirements listed in this statute. This background investigation report was made available to the members of the Committee on Culture and Justice prior to this hearing. If I may ask, so we are ready now to accept testimony from the panel, but if I may ask that we allow that, I want to recognize the presence of Chief Justice Merriman, if we could ask her to go first. If we could get a seat, please, for the Chief Justice and let her begin. Thank you very much, Mr. Weisenberg. Chief Justice, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Vice Speaker Terlaje, members of the committee, Speaker Cruz, Senator Castro, Senator Muña, Senator Ada, Senator Therese, and Senator Espaldon. Hafa and thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony today in support of the nomination of Jonathan R. Quan to serve as Magistrate Judge in the Superior Court of Guam. I want to thank the Guam Bar Association for its work to present names of candidates to me as Chief Justice for consideration for this important post. The Guam Bar's diligence was so important and timely that I was pleased to use it to make my decision to send forward Jonathan Kwan's name to the Guam legislature back in November 2017. I'm confident that should he be confirmed, Jonathan Kwan will continue to serve the people of Guam. I have known Jonathan Kwan for 22 years. First as a law clerk when he had just completed his law degree at Loyola Law School back in 1996. He clerked for me as I was just 2 years on the job as judge in the Superior Court of Guam. I then was able to observe his courtroom skills as he practiced before me during his first stint as prosecutor at the Office of the Attorney General and in private practice. After I joined the Supreme Court of Guam in 2008, he appeared on several important cases as a skilled advocate for the people of Guam. Jonathan Kwan would be a fine magistrate judge, as he is a fine lawyer. His experiences in the private bar, teaching at the Guam Community College, and his service to America as a member of the Guam National Guard Judge Advocate General's Corps will serve to the nurturing of judicial temperament. He has a dry sense of humor, self-discipline, and varied interests outside of the law. He loves his family and is a good husband and father. His work product is excellent because he has a keen legal mind and has demonstrated over his 2 decades of legal work that he is quite able to analyze complicated legal issues and apply the law appropriately. Jonathan makes decisions that are just and fair. He is unbiased and impartial. He is intelligent and wise. Jonathan Kwan has all of the credentials, experience, and wisdom to be a fine magistrate judge in the Superior Court of Guam. I hope that the Committee on Culture and Justice will consider reporting his nomination out of committee favorably and to the floor of the Guam legislature for a vote to confirm. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief Justice. Lorenzo Roberto? Oh. All right, well, okay. I beg your pardon. If I may ask my colleagues so that if the Chief Justice needs to get back, if they have any questions for the Chief Justice or anything that... All right, so Mr. Roberto, Madam AG?
Good morning, Madam Chairwoman and members of this astute committee. I also echo the comments of Chief Justice Catherine Merriman. I've known Jonathan about the same number of years that she has. But more intimately, I have known Jonathan since I have become Attorney General, elected Attorney General, my second stint in that position. He has been a bulwark of strength in the prosecutor's office, not only to the chief prosecutor, but to myself as Attorney General. I think Justice Merriman correctly stated it, that his knowledge and his experience as a prosecutor is what has benefited the office of the Attorney General. I have a written statement here, but I'm only going to read the last two paragraphs because I think it's important for the public that are listening in today to hear some very poignant comments. That Jonathan's strongest attributes is his dedication to the job. No doubt his military career has added to such dedication and skills. He is trusted, he is responsive, hardworking, always ready to accomplish the mission, and imparts the highest example of attorney ethics. And although we are going to be saddened to lose him in the office of the Attorney General, we believe that Jonathan will continue the excellence and service to the people of Guam from the bench. His knowledge and experience in criminal law and criminal procedure, as well as his understanding of the criminal justice system from arrest to charging, will inure him as one of the strongest magistrate judges to ascend to the bench. Jonathan has judicial temperament, and I think that's always one of the most important attributes of a judge or a magistrate judge. A former judge also said once about, what does it take to be a judge? And that individual said, a reasonable understanding of the law. You don't need to know all the law, but the person has to have a reasonable understanding of the law and the ability to apply it. That comes from Justice Ramon Diaz. And I always thought that was a very good comment about the type of individual who should elevate to the bench. Jonathan, I will guarantee you this, will not be biased in favor of one side of the criminal justice system or the other, just because he was a prosecutor for many years. And some might think that he might be biased in favor of the office of the Attorney General. I don't believe that will be the case, because Jonathan will take on his mission as a magistrate judge and all the statutory requirements, Madam Chair, that you just read out a few minutes ago, and he will take his responsibility to his duties under the statute seriously and not exercise his judgment in any biased manner. I think Jonathan will be fair, he will be strong, and he will be an added benefit to the entire criminal justice system. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Attorney General. Again, I'd like to request if my colleagues have any questions for the Attorney General while she's here. Thank you very much. I'd also like to acknowledge the presence of my colleague, Senator Espaldon. Thank you for being here. All right, Mr. Roberto.
Thank you. Honorable Chairwoman Terlaje and members of this committee. My name is Lorenzo Roberto, and I'm a retired Chief Master Sergeant of the Guam Air National Guard. I appear here before you in support of Attorney Jonathan Quan's appointment as Magistrate Judge to the Superior Court of Guam. Attorney Quan has practiced law in various areas for many years, about 20, including serving the people of Guam as the Assistant Attorney General in the Prosecution Division, Office of the Attorney General, for roughly 10 years. Attorney Quan and I crossed paths in our careers when I was a paralegal with the Guam Air National Guard. Attorney Quan received his commission appointment as Staff Judge Advocate, Defense Counsel of the United States Reserve in 2011, which mirrors his desire to serve the people at a national level. In this capacity, Attorney Quan serves our nation as Major Quan. Major Quan provides legal assistance to members of the United States Army Reserve and Guam Army and Air National Guard organization. For 2 years, I had the privilege of working with Major Quan, while our occupations kept us on the opposite sides of the military courtroom, addressing administrative separation matters. We all shared the common goals and mission objectives, effectuating good order and discipline, which is outlined in the preamble in part of the Manual for Courts Martial. He demonstrates outstanding leadership both inside and outside of the courtroom, which makes him the cream of the crop, a valuable resource, team player, and mentor to any organization. I am confident that Attorney Quan's qualifications, experience, and desire to do more for the people of Guam makes him suitable to carry out the responsibilities of a magistrate judge by making tough decisions and ensuring that good order and discipline is maintained. I humbly request the members of the 30 Guam Legislature to favorably support Attorney Jonathan Quan's appointment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Roberto. Mr. Weisenberger.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Mr. Speaker, members of the committee, my name is John Weisenberger. I live in the village of Chalampago. I'm a member of the Guam Bar Association since 1977. I'm here to support the appointment of Jonathan Quan as a magistrate judge. I've worked with Jonathan over the years. I find him to be not only smart but wise, integral, trustworthy, and hardworking. I encourage you to support his nomination. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Gutierrez?
Hi, good morning, Madam Chairperson, Mr. Speaker, and fellow senators. Hafaday. My name is Dana Gutierrez, and I submit this testimony in support of the appointment of my friend and colleague, Jonathan Quan, to serve as Magistrate Judge of the Superior Court of Guam. I have known Jonathan, or Shaka Kwan, as he is known to our Bishop Gardner Junior High School classmates, since we were 13 years old. As he was a transfer student from St. Anthony Catholic School, our bishop group did not immediately welcome him into our circle of friends. On first impression, for those of you who do not know Jonathan very well, he can come across as quiet and reserved. However, that is a problem with first impressions. If you do not take the time to really get to know someone, you can miss out on the opportunity to make a friend for life. And that is what I have found in Jonathan. After getting to know him, I discovered that not only is he a caring, dependable, and trustworthy friend, he is also quite witty and funny. When I think back to my bishop days, I have many fond memories that involve Jonathan, and my experience there would not have been the same without him. After high school, our paths led us to different parts of the United States, with Jonathan attending college in Pennsylvania, while I made my way to Los Angeles. During that time, we would see each other during summer breaks, and we would hear about each other through mutual friends. Before the days of internet and cell phones, it was a lot harder to keep in touch. But when Jonathan decided to attend law school at Loyola Law School in Los Angeles, I was very happy that he contacted me to attend a law school reception with him. At the time, I was debating between graduate school and law school, and Jonathan's call could not have come at a better time. Attending the reception with him helped me make a life decision that led me to a career in law. Although he does not realize it, his friendship played a significant role in my becoming a lawyer. For this reason and many more, I am thankful that we have become friends for over 30 years. Today, you will hear our colleagues discuss Jonathan's legal work and abilities as an attorney. There is no doubt that Jonathan possesses the requisite legal knowledge and skills to be a magistrate judge. However, I believe that there is more to being a magistrate judge than just being smart or knowing the law. I believe that it is just as important to be able to apply the law and to have common sense when doing so. Additionally, a judge must possess certain qualities like attentiveness, integrity, and the ability to be impartial. Based on my relationship with Jonathan, I know he possesses these qualities and that he is more than capable of executing the duties of magistrate judge. I also know from experience that Jonathan is of solid character and is prepared to make tough decisions, even if those decisions may seem at sometimes unpopular. I believe that Jonathan has the judicial temperament necessary to be a magistrate judge and will take the time to listen completely and fully to understand the complexities of issues before making a decision. Moreover, anyone that knows him knows that Jonathan is a hard worker and he is no stranger to working long hours. I support the appointment of my friend Jonathan Quan and encourage the senators of the 34th Guam legislature to confirm Jonathan as the next magistrate judge of the Superior Court of Guam. Thank you, senators.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gutierrez. Mr. Kenga?
Hafaday, Madam Chair, Speaker B.J. Cruz, and Senators. My name is Andrew Serge Kenga, and I submit this testimony in support of the confirmation of Jonathan Kwan as Magistrate Judge of the Superior Court. I have been a practicing attorney in Guam and member of the Guam Bar Association for over 2 decades, working both in the public sector and private sector as an assistant AG, staff attorney, and compiler for the courts. Worked with the Guam Law Library and most recently as in-house counsel for a private company in Guam. During my legal career, I've worked extensively with many government and private attorneys, judges, and justices. In particular, I worked with Jonathan when we were colleagues in the Office of the AG and on the Guam Code Annotated Advisory Commission for the 2005 revision of the Guam Code Annotated, and with Jonathan in his capacity as trustee of the Guam Law Library. In my opinion and experience, Jonathan has demonstrated an extremely high command of the criminal code and constitutional law. He has developed an extremely high legal acumen and has accumulated many years of experience in criminal law, both as a prosecutor and private attorney, necessary to qualify without exception as a magistrate judge. I have come to know Jonathan as a person who reacts with precision and fortitude to difficult issues and events. He does not act spontaneously or emotionally to such events. Rather, he considers all possible consequences and results before acting. Only then will he react with strength and intelligence to resolve even the most difficult events and issues. Jonathan puts family and service above all else. He has had to deal with ensuring the health of his daughter, who was born with a serious medical condition, while shouldering the responsibilities of a prosecutor by protecting the public from acts of criminals, and while also serving his country as an officer in the Guam National Guard. Moreover, Jonathan is a mentor and leader. I appeared once as a guest lecturer in his criminal procedure class when he was a professor at GCC, teaching criminal procedure to law enforcement cadets. His students were motivated and inquisitive. I was impressed with the level of interaction that Jonathan had with his students, many of whom now serve as Guam peace officers. I have worked closely with Jonathan and have come to trust his professionalism and judgment without reservation. I can further attest that Jonathan is extremely diligent in complying with his ethical duties and obligations under the Guam Rules of Professional Conduct. I can say with utmost confidence that Jonathan will make an excellent magistrate court judge. The judiciary is in desperate need of the services of a magistrate judge. I respectfully urge the legislature to confirm Jonathan as soon as possible so that he may begin work as a magistrate judge, and I thank you for the opportunity to submit this testimony in his support. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kenga. Mr. Nishihara.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Vice Speaker, Speaker, Senators. My name is Fred Nishihira, a Deputy Attorney General of the Consumer Protection Division, and I am here in to testify in support of the confirmation of Jonathan Kwan as a magistrate judge. I have had the privilege of working alongside Jonathan over the years, and very few attorneys have the wide base of legal experience that Jonathan has. He has worked as a solicitor, advising executive branch agencies on the day-to-day legal matters that arise without warning, and thus I know he is quick on his feet. He has years of experience as a prosecutor, and I can say that I have personally seen him dedicate hours, many of them after 5 p.m., in the preparation for a criminal trial, and thus he is prepared. Jonathan is a JAG officer in the military, and thus I know he is very disciplined. And he has taught legal classes at the university level, and thus he is an educator. Jonathan has a family, and he is understanding. Finally, Jonathan has a sense of humor that comes out best when he is under the greatest amount of stress, and thus he is balanced. Jonathan will make a great magistrate judge because he is who he is, one that will consider all the facts, all the arguments, all the pleadings before coming to a fair and final decision. And it is for these reasons I support Jonathan's confirmation and ask that you do the same. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nishihira. Mr. Stettenbens.
Hafide and good morning, Madam Chair, fellow senators. My name is Stephen Stettenbens, and I've known Jonathan Kwan for the past 40 years. As a fellow graduate of Cathedral Grade School, Bishop Baumgartner Junior High School, and Father Duenas Memorial High School, I've known Jonathan probably better than I know myself. My parents and Jonathan's parents were close friends, and I can recall one time when we were in the Philippines, when we were in the 6th grade, in a restaurant, in walks Jonathan Kwan with his backpack as he normally had. And the reason why he was there was to attend a Taekwondo tournament. And the reason why I'm here to support my fellow friend is because of the passion that he has, not only for his family, his fellow FD graduates, but for those of us that know him the most. So please support the appointment of Jonathan Kwan as magistrate judge. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stettenbens. Do any of my colleagues have any questions for any member of this panel? All right, thank you very much for your testimony this morning. I'd like to call up to the panel Domingo Ocampo, Vivian Leon, Carlotta Leon Guerrero, former senator, Lisa Lorick, Sally Sablan. I'd also like to acknowledge that there have been people who signed up in support who did not sign up to submit testimony, but will be submitting written testimony. These are Peter Santos from the Office of Attorney General, Rosalind Balasta, Edward Regis Balasta, Alfred Duenas, Cynthia Cabot, Attorney James Brooks, and Doris Kitchichuk. Jeremiah Luther, Maria, and Dwayne Sablan. Marianne Woloschuk. There are others we'll get to later. All right, so to begin this panel, Senator Carlotta, we'll start with you, and then we'll work our way down the panel.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Good morning, Mr. Speaker and senators. It is an honor to be here in support of Jonathan Kwan. I took very seriously the work that he was doing during a very high-profile case. I think the whole island was watching it so closely as we were confronted with issues of police officers and having to deal with human trafficking. And this was in the nightly news. And I think that the whole island gained confidence in watching the steadfast movement of justice that transpired. And Judge Merriman, I think, said it well, but in her scaled-back way, without mentioning the case directly, but she said that his work can be characterized as just and fair, And then she later went on to say, to describe him as intelligent and wise. I think this is just the most outstanding language, description of somebody heading into the judicial system. And I stand in full support of Jonathan Kwan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please begin.
Hafday, Mananas Duas, Chairperson Therese, Terlaje, and members of the Committee of Justice, Culture and Justice. Thank you for this opportunity for me to speak today here at this hearing. My name is Domingo Leo Campo, and I am here to wholeheartedly support the confirmation of Jonathan Regino Kwan to serve as Magistrate Judge for the people of Guam. I will share some insights about Jonathan that should leave no doubt in anybody's mind that he is the right person to serve as Guam's next Magistrate Judge. I have known Jonathan for 30 plus years since we were sophomores at Father Duenas Memorial School. Not only did he excel academically as our valedictorian, he also excelled physically through martial arts. His passion to practice law was evident back in high school as our debate team's captain. I remember the countless hours we put in to prepare arguments and solutions for the failing Social Security system. With his guidance, we crafted a viable plan to save Social Security. He also grilled us from different angles to prepare for oppositional arguments. Even till now, Jonathan continues his drive for excellence and fairness. Above all, Jonathan is a family man. He is an admired son of John and Veronica Kwan. His father, the late Senator John F. Kwan, served in the 15th, 16th, 17th, and 19th Guam legislature, and his mother retired from Guam Revenue Taxation, former Research and Appeals Administrator. He is an adored nephew of Lea Santos, Executive Director of the Guam Commission for Educator Certification. He is a protective older brother to James F. Kwan, a talented black belt Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gym owner and a former St. John's teacher. Jonathan is a devoted husband to Nicole Balesta Kwan, the Contracts and Small Claims Administrator at Guam Waterworks Authority. Last but not least, a loving father to his 4-year-old daughter, Alyssa, a bright and energetic student at the Dominican Child Development Center who knows her ABCs and 1-2-3s. He comes from a well-respected family. Every member of his family are accomplished individuals who served or have served Guam in one capacity or another. Jonathan follows that same path of accomplishments through public service. As they say, the apple does not fall too far from the tree. Currently, Jonathan is the Assistant Attorney General at the Office of the Attorney General. He is a major in the Judge Advocate General's Corps for the Guam Army National Guard. He served as an assistant professor at the Guam Community College, molding Guam's future peace officers through the Criminal Justice Academy. Overall, Jonathan has many decades under his belt serving the people of Guam through the practice of law. I'd like to switch gears a little bit and talk about Jonathan as I know him, a great friend. We would converse over many topics ranging from personal matters, politics, entertainment, or current events. In almost every instance, he would give insights that I was unaware or have to question my own perspective on the topic. It shows that Jonathan is sharp, very observant, and is a quick thinker on the fly. One topic that we would often discuss is the state of Guam's public education. This is a natural topic since I am a science teacher at a public middle school, and Jonathan was an assistant professor at GCC. When I talked to him about what I experienced in the public schools, it seems he had already experienced them himself. He has never taught in a public middle school, but he is very familiar with the socioeconomic and cultural challenges that Guam students face. Many times he is patient and lends me his ear to hear my classroom frustrations. Jonathan would ask me some questions and have me reevaluate my classroom situation. From there, I would strategize what I can do to resolve the issues I face. I value his methodical and logical insights. His input gives me a better perspective as to how I can be a more effective teacher. Not only is Jonathan a good friend, he is also a loyal FD classmate of 1989. Back in 1999, Jonathan and I served on a committee for our 10th class reunion. Our mission was to organize events to bring our classmates together and fundraise monies to donate towards charity. One of the fundraising events was the annual FD Alumni Basketball Tournament. Each alumni class year normally sponsors a team. For our 1989 class, we nearly had 40 classmates interested in playing the basketball tournament. To field a team with over 20 players is a challenge due to the time constraints of the game and the number of games based on the team's performance. Some folks in our class voiced their concerns regarding the fairness of playtime for each member, while others voiced their concerns regarding the competitive nature to win as many games as possible. Jonathan stepped up and took on the role of a mediator to facilitate dialogue between the classmates and was able to formulate a solution that met everyone's concerns. He proposed that our class was to field 2 teams, one competitive and the other for light sport. His proposal also identified stipulations that some found difficult, but was viewed to be fair by all of our classmates. Facing the challenges of many voices with different issues, Jonathan successfully spearheaded our 10th FD class reunion. From a professional perspective, I had the opportunity to visit Jonathan at his work environment, the Office of the Attorney General. Almost always, his peers approached him seeking advice and guidance regarding procedure, legal practices, or personal well-being. He is attentive to his associates, and they respect his input. From what I have seen, he has a close working relationship with his colleagues, where they value and trust each other's knowledge, experience, contributions to the organization. He is well respected and well received by his peers. Does Jonathan possess the qualifications to serve as a magistrate judge? Yes. Does Jonathan possess the moral character and integrity to serve as a magistrate judge? Yes. Should you confirm Jonathan to serve as Guam's next magistrate judge? Absolutely yes. He has the perspective of studying the law, practicing the law, and teaching the law. The next logical step would be for him to apply the law with integrity and fairness. Danklu Natsuas Masi.
Jesus Masi, Mr. Ocampo. Ms. Leon?
Hafaday Vice Speaker Terlaje, Speaker Cruz, and Senators. I'm submitting testimony in support of Mr. Jonathan Kwan's nomination as Magistrate Judge for the Superior Court. I consider myself fortunate to know Jonathan both personally and professionally. I am honored to know his mother, Veronica, who raised him and his brother as a single parent after his father, Senator John F. Quan, passed away in 1988. She made sure the values of honesty, integrity, and hard work are instilled in her children. I saw these values at work when Jonathan was the Port Authority of Guam's Assistant Legal Counsel in the 1990s. During our discussion requiring legal advice, I found Jonathan to have a keen mind, acute awareness, and knowledgeable of local and federal laws. Jonathan has 4 strong traits that would be an integral part of the justice system and their success. They are, he is a listener. He will take time to listen to suggestions and concerns of his clients. Encourager. He doesn't try to do it all by himself. Neither does he motivate by force or guilt. Jonathan encourages others and helps bring out the best. Assertive. He says what needs to be said without being unkind. He tells the truth and sees it openly and frankly. Decisive. He knows what needs to be done and does it in a timely manner. These traits, combined with his experience in the legal profession, in my opinion, makes him qualified and suitable to be a magistrate judge. A very good friend told me what a role of a public servant should be. If you desire for a higher position within an organization, your desires should not be for prestige, fame, or power, but for the privilege of serving others. This quote is reflective of what I see with Jonathan, a privilege for him to serve others, the people of Guam. Your favorable consideration and vote of confidence in Jonathan will be a valuable addition to the judicial branch of the government of Guam. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Leon. Lisa Lorick? Please press the button on that microphone.
Good morning, Speaker Cruz and Vice Speaker Terlaje and Senators. My name is Lisa Lorick. I have lived on Guam for about 8 years. I met Jonathan Kwan in 2011 when I started working at the Attorney General's office. I was fresh out of law school, and I was fortunate enough to have Jonathan Kwan as my trainer, supervisor, mentor. He created a general crimes unit at the Office of the Attorney General, and it was misdemeanor crimes, some nonviolent felonies where we were supervised. And at the time, I didn't know, we had this safety net around us. But he went out of his way to make sure that we understood the law and the community, as well as the office and the staff, and everything we needed to know to function in that capacity. It was a significant investment of time, and he tailored his training program to each individual person and what they needed and how they reacted. And so that made it really special, and it created an environment of trust among us, and really like a family in a sense. I've always known Jonathan Kwan to be an honest man and a trustworthy man. He will tell you what you need to hear when you need to hear it, and that has made me a better lawyer. I would not be where I'm at today without the mentoring of Jonathan Kwan, as a lot of other people in this room and a lot of other attorneys who have come and gone. He's been supportive. He made me feel like I was a part of the effort, part of the mission of the Attorney General's office, and I guess I can't thank him enough for everything that he's done for me, as well as for the Office of the Attorney General. He always put the office first in everything he did. Well, the people of Guam first in everything he did, and I know he has the capability and responsibility and dedication and motivation. Basically everything everybody has said here today, I would echo their comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Attorney Laurie. Sally Sablon.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Speaker Cruz, fellow senators. Thank you for allowing me to speak today to express my full support of Attorney Jonathan Kwan's appointment as a magistrate judge. I have known Jonathan for over 30 years now. We first met in high school when we participated in the close-up program and traveled to many places such as Washington, D.C., Pennsylvania, and New York to learn more about our government. It was there that I was first impressed by his display of confidence and intelligence. Although speaking in Washington, D.C. was quite intimidating for me as a 15-year-old, Jonathan had no hesitation asking and answering questions boldly in front of many people who I viewed as very highly distinguished individuals. I knew then, 30 years ago, that this person is someone who will someday be very important in our community. Today, I am proud to tell you that he has already been an important contributor to our community, and his appointment as a magistrate judge will only further his goals of serving the people of Guam. As a counselor at Guam Community College, I had the privilege of working with Jonathan as a fellow faculty member. As an assistant professor in the Criminal Justice and Social Science Department, he challenged his students to think critically in and out of the classroom. He was passionate about his teaching and pushed his students to excel, not to settle for mediocrity so that they could become outstanding law enforcement officers. Throughout his career at GCC, Jonathan continued to use his leadership skills outside of the classroom as well. That is, within only 5 years of being at the college, he wasted no time and served on numerous committees that helped our college continue to not only move forward, but more importantly, also move upward. For example, he served on our Academic Affairs Committee to help improve our curriculum. He served on the Faculty Senate Formation Committee and helped our college improve our governance process to meet our accreditation standards. In fact, he was the one who drafted our bylaws and constitution for our newly formed Faculty Senate. Additionally, he served on the Ethics Committee and was very instrumental in drafting the first professional rules of conduct for GCC. Jonathan also used his legal expertise and served as a member of our contract negotiations team, between the faculty union and the GCC Board of Trustees. I worked closely with Jonathan when he served as the Promotions Committee chairperson. He drafted new procedures to help improve the process of advancement in rank, to focus on quality and not just quantity of the work of our fellow faculty members. I worked alongside Jonathan on this committee as we reviewed portfolios of our fellow colleagues to decide whether or not they met the criteria for advancement in rank. As our chairperson, he continued to remind all faculty members on the committee to look at the evidence set before us. I can honestly say that I felt like I was serving on a jury, and that he, as the chair, was the judge reminding us to look at the facts set before us. In fact, 11 years ago, while serving on that committee with him, I can recall wondering if one day Jonathan will end up becoming a judge on Guam. It is evident that in each endeavor Jonathan chooses to pursue, he doesn't just sit around and wait for things to happen. At GCC, I witnessed firsthand that he was the driving force behind many changes for the betterment of our college. In each committee he served on at GCC, he was instrumental in making improvements for everyone, not just for his faculty members, but also for our staff, our administrators, and ultimately, our students. It is both an honor and a privilege to speak to you today, to tell you that I fully support, without hesitation, Attorney Jonathan Kwan's appointment as a magistrate judge. Jonathan is a dedicated leader who would rather serve than be served. I know that when given the privilege to serve the people of Guam in a new capacity, he will continue to demonstrate his high standard of professionalism, not out of selfish ambition, but out of genuine, deep-rooted commitment to serve our people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sablan. Attorney Santos?
Buenas and half a day. Man honorable na senador and senadoras. Dan hagulo ko especialmente kulolo niya I senadora ni gumehilulu isti na kumatea. Matudzo pago ja danklus na privileo. Dan magovjo pa bay testigo pudi sapotasyon. Dan iinangok kun esti na kilisdano as Jonathan Kwan. Matudzo magi gi sakan 2015. Jasi Jonathan kumoni jo halom gi ofisinan hinirat obugaw. Jahu atan, jahu li na si Jonathan ungan magay tagi man masangan pago na ogan masen respeta si Jonathan. Law, maski edzo, fuera ki enaw, maila jabe sangani amjo. Matu gi huli halom gi corazon niya. Sa Husen atan esti na kilis jano sa umbi tau Guam esti na lahin Guam tau I komunidad distiki mafanagunya estiki dumang kolonya haset bihit gini gi esti islata pues atan halom sa pago na tempo gi esti na linala megay problema megay tinatsaga jan megay lokwi ti conviene pues kada haji na tau no hu faksai hu aatan jauh studia jaungkan magard hu studia esti na kilis jano ja anuk ja metunjo ja besangani hamjo be testigo hamjo giza hamjo gimenan mijo pago na ogan na maulik I corazon esti na kilis jano taja na uhungok na manachaki tau taja na uhungok na bengatibo na klasin tau sen maulik esti na kilis jano. Jahu soju hamju pron sapota ja una ponti esti na tau para magistrate judge. Si Diyos masi.
Si Diyos mahasi, Lokwi, Senor Santos. Thank you very much to the panel. Well, I'm sorry. Does any of my colleagues have any questions for this panel? All right, thank you very much. I really appreciate your testimony today. I'm going to call now Dr. Lisa Baza Cruz, Attorney Anthony Camacho, Michelle Taitano, Graham Bota, and Attorney David Riano. Attorney Bota. We've also have other people signed up in support who are not submitting written oral testimony today, including Isabella Wagner, Sean Wagner, Devin Wright, Walter Salas, Jerry Tang. Dr. Baza-Cruz.
Hafaday Vice Speaker Terlaje, Speaker Cruz, and honorable members of the Committee on Culture and Justice. I am Dr. Lisa Baza-Cruz. I am a retired English professor from the Guam Community College. Without reservation, I gladly write this testimony for Mr. Jonathan R. Quan in support of his confirmation as Magistrate Judge. I have had the privilege of knowing Mr. Quan for over 15 years. This testimony is written from my perspective as a colleague from the Guam Community College, as well as a longtime friend. I first became acquainted with Jonathan in 2003 when he became a faculty member for the Guam Community College in the Criminal Justice and Social Science Department. This same year, we both served on the college's Academic Affairs Committee, and in 2005, we both served on the college's Faculty Senate Formation Committee. In 2006, as we served on the college's Professional Ethics Committee, and as the chairperson, I recognized Jonathan's skill in developing a collaborative professional environment. His quick smile and wit make him a great colleague. He has a calm personality, which he effectively utilizes to diffuse tense situations. I can attest to Mr. Kwan's expertise in Guam's laws, as his knowledge of local legal policies and procedures was instrumental in guiding the committee in producing the final document. Today, that final document, the college's Code of Ethics, continues to guide professional conduct of employees and institutional stakeholders. From these interactions, our professional relationship grew and transitioned into a valued personal friendship. Our discussions frequently segue into lively debates, which are thought-provoking and lead me to appreciate his craft. I have come to know him well and respect him very much. He has indeed earned this consideration through his dedicated efforts, high standards, and years of professional experience. He is a thoughtful, articulate, committed, and professional individual. More importantly, he is a man of integrity whose actions and decisions are deliberate and fair-minded. He has a balanced approach to decision-making, and his work ethic is exemplary. Although he left the college in 2008, we continue to keep in touch. Upon hearing of his nomination as Magistrate Judge, I knew I had to be here to offer moral support as well as professional testimony. I care very much for our island community and the future of Guam. I believe that a judge should be attentive, diligent, temperate, and hardworking. A judge must have a strong sense of community and responsibility. In the same vein, a judge must be thoughtful, compassionate, and objective, thus able to render reasoned decisions. It is because Mr. Kwan displays each of these qualities that I am able to fully support his confirmation. It is truly a privilege to speak on his behalf. It is without hesitation that I strongly support the confirmation of Mr. Jonathan R. Quan. He is cognizant of the demographics and unique diversity of our community and the Pacific region. His intellect is keen, his breadth of knowledge impressive, and his commitment to service deep. I cannot think of a better combination of qualities for a magistrate judge for our island. Si Diyos Masi.
Si Diyos Masi, Dr. Baza-Cruz, attorney.
Thank you, Vice Speaker, Speaker Cruz, and Senators. I'd like to testify this morning on behalf of the confirmation of Jonathan R. Quan as a magistrate judge. I first met Jonathan Quan when he was originally serving as an AG, first time around in the late 90s when I was at Public Defender. Obviously, we're on opposite sides of the aisle, but I found him fair and impartial and able to work with his fellow attorneys to provide resolution to cases that were difficult and challenging. I found him over the years to be fair and impartial, has a great sense of professionalism and diligence and hard work in what he's done, certainly a man of integrity, and has the correct judicial temperament to be a magistrate judge and to serve the people of Guam. He listens to those before he makes the decision, And also, I think, although he's been Attorney General for a great majority of his career, the last 7 years, certainly as I've known him as well, as defense counsel for the Guam National Guard, he has, on behalf of both the Army and Air National Guard members who have needed defense counsel to assist them in their difficult challenges, and he has done that going far outside what he needs to do, meeting them after hours, outside of work, to give them the support and counsel that they deserve. His long service as a member of the Attorney General's office, his work with the Guam National Guard, and the integrity that he's displayed, I believe supports his nomination, and I humbly request you, Senators, that you confirm his as the next magistrate judge for the island of Guam. Sijusmasi.
Sijusmasi, Attorney Bota. Attorney Riano.
Good morning, Chairwoman and Senators. My name is David Riano. I am the senior full-time attorney with the Guam National Guard. I'm here this morning to provide some background on John Quan as it pertains to his military experience as an attorney and as a soldier. John has worked under my supervision in the Guam Army National Guard, and I've really come to know him both socially and professionally. He's a fine family man, he's a talented attorney, and he's also an outstanding Army officer. More importantly, in our organization, he's very affable and he's well liked, and he gets along well with everybody. And as a result, he enjoys a great reputation in the command. John is presently assigned as a judge advocate. As you may be aware, judge advocates must meet strict moral, mental, ethical, and physical standards. In addition to being a member of a state bar, a judge advocate must also complete further legal studies at the Army's Judge Advocate General School in Charlottesville, Virginia. So John is very well educated on the military side. He's well versed in all facets of current law. The Army has taught him environmental law, criminal law, family law, administrative law, and military law is only a small facet of his judge advocate practice. John has provided the Guam National Guard and its myriad legal assistance beneficiaries invaluable service. As stated, he's well versed in Guam's family law. He's helped many clients in divorce, custody, and child support legal assistance. He is presently a defense counsel, and I've often observed that judge advocates who come from a prosecution background in their civilian job are just as aggressive as defense counsel. John is a very good defense counsel, represents his clients vigorously and compassionately, but with civility, and that's also very important. I'd like to note that John has been nominated this year for the National Guard Bureau's Pacific Region Trial Defense Counsel of the Year, and that's a real feather in his cap. He has also been a by-name requested faculty member for Army Reserve Defense Counsel training in the continental United States, and that's another noteworthy accomplishment. In sum, John is both an outstanding Army officer and experienced attorney who is more than capable of increased legal responsibility. I think his military background and understanding of the complex civilian-military legal relationship give him an added perspective professionally. And without hesitation, I recommend John for this position of increased responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Attorney Rihanna. Mr. Camacho?
Hafaday and good morning, Madam Chair, Speaker, and Senators. My name is Anthony Camacho. I've been a police officer for many years, and I'm currently the Acting Chief Investigator of the Office of Attorney General. Today I come before you in support of Jonathan Kwan's nomination for Magistrate Judge. I've had the privilege of knowing Jonathan as a friend for over 30 years as we attended Cathedral Grade School and Bishop and Gardner Junior High. Even then, I looked up to Jonathan. He was an honor student, humble, and for the most part, he kept to himself. He never really cared about popularity. Rather, he was always concerned about doing what was right. Jonathan, in all aspects, was and is a good and ethical person. Our friendship continued through our adult careers when he worked at the Attorney General's office as a young prosecutor and myself a police officer. This allowed us to work several cases together. First thing that came to my mind when I learned that Jonathan became a prosecutor was how appropriate this man was for the job. He's hardworking, intelligent, and most importantly, honest. I was confident that Jonathan would serve the people of Guam to the best of his ability and ensure that justice was served in each of the cases presented to him before him. 5 years ago, I had the opportunity to work closely with Jonathan after I accepted a position at the Attorney General's office as an investigator. There, I saw firsthand Jonathan's drive and determination to ensure that cases were thoroughly investigated and properly prosecuted within his ethical duties as a prosecutor. I recall cases where he was the assigned prosecutor and I the investigator. At times, determination had to be made on whether or not charges would be filed. For some cases, even after months of reviewing several thousand documents, screening mounds of evidence, and analyzing information gathered over a span of years, Jonathan made a decision not to charge. Not an easy decision, but lacking the evidence required for Jonathan to ethically pursue a case weighed heavy. On the other hand, for cases that did meet the prosecution threshold, I have witnessed Jonathan in full throttle working diligently to bring these cases to closure. Judgment calls had to be made, and Jonathan did so confidently based on the evidence and facts presented before him. I hold Jonathan with high regard, and I am proud to support his nomination for Magistrate's Judge. He is a dedicated family man and a proud soldier, serving both his island and country. Jonathan brings years of legal experience to the table, as well as the objectiveness and integrity I feel is required for this position. I am confident that Jonathan will serve the people of Guam to the best of his ability. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Camacho. I just want to apologize for the long hearing this morning. I mean, we have a lot of people who want to testify, so I thank you all for being here and for your patience. And I also thank Polly Chrysostomo and those who are here for his. I think we have about one more panel, and we proceed with that. But so thank you very much, all of you, for your patience. And Ms. Taitano, please proceed.
Half a day, and thank you, Madam Chair and Senators. Thank you for having this hearing for Mr. Jonathan Kwan, for Magistrate Judge. I support this confirmation. I want to say thank you, Dankalu Nasidus Masi, to Jonathan for serving our country, and returning to Guam to live and work for the people of Guam, that we may be blessed by your great knowledge, skills, and abilities. I also want to thank you, ma'am, wife, in your supportive roles as wife and your children, to support him, that we may have him in various roles in our community. As chairwoman of the Guam Parole Board, I've had a wonderful opportunity to work with Jonathan, as he often represents the Attorney General's office in giving their disposition regarding an individual's request for parole, pardon, or commutation. He is everything everyone has previously said about him. One quality I really appreciate about Jonathan is that he is such a proficient and active listener, a skill most necessary to have as magistrate judge. Though we will miss him at our hearings, I am so confident that he will absolutely carry out the duties and responsibilities of a magistrate judge. I humbly request your confirmation of Mr. Jonathan Kwan as Guam's next magistrate judge. Siduos Masi, Zenin Infen Benendisi.
Thank you very much, Ms. Taitano. Are there any questions from the panel from my colleagues for this panel? Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'd like to call up Attorney Espaldon, Carl Espaldon, Gregory Perez, Sheila Cruz, Kathleen Moylan, J.P. Nicholas. I'd also like to acknowledge the presence and support of Pete Meno, Ivan Kwan, Joseph Pereira, Mike Cassidy, Charlene Pereira, Sean Brown, and former Senator John Uggan, and Sherry Wagner. All right, Attorney Espadon, please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Madam Chair, Speaker Cruz, and members of the committee. My name is Carl Espaldon, and I am pleased to be here today to testify in strong support for the nomination of Attorney Jonathan Kwan to be a magistrate judge of the Superior Court of Guam. At present, Jonathan and I are colleagues at the Office of the Attorney General, where he serves as an Assistant Attorney General in the Solicitor Division, of which I have been the deputy for the past 3.5 years. Through our working relationship, I have had almost daily contact with Jonathan since he started with the Solicitor Division almost 2 years ago. Before working with Jonathan at the AG's office, I did not know him personally. Although, like many in our community, I was aware of him and knew of him as one of Guam's promising young sons as far back as when he graduated from Father Duenas Memorial School as its valedictorian in 1989, a year after having lost his father, the late Senator John Quan, a 5-term senator in this very legislature who served with my own father, the late Dr. Ernesto Espaldon. Jonathan, after Father Duenas, went on to receive an Ivy League college education at the University of Pennsylvania on a full academic merit scholarship, where he double majored in international relations and Asian and Middle Eastern studies. During that time, because of his success in these programs, Jonathan was chosen to participate in the prestigious and highly selective International Young Scholars Summer Youth Program with the office of then Philippine President Corazon Aquino, where he worked with within Malacañang Palace itself on the historic and peaceful transition of presidential power from President Aquino to President Fidel Ramos. After his undergraduate career, Jonathan received his law degree from Loyola Law School, again on academic scholarship. When I was considering my testimony today and the kind of message of support I wanted to convey to this body, it really boiled down to a very simple yet encouraging thought. And that is, in Jonathan Kwan, we have a nominee to the court, a son of Guam, who in my opinion is one of Guam's best and brightest. An individual who has the personal attributes, the educational pedigree, the practical experience, and the subject matter expertise to be an excellent magistrate judge in our court system. I have already touched upon his educational background as far as his own schooling is concerned, but I find it relevant that Jonathan's educational experience includes years as a popular and an effective instructor, professor at GCC, where his primary field of concentration was criminal law, criminal procedure, and the criminal justice and law enforcement system. He has also often been called upon by the Army National Guard, in which he serves, to instruct and train young judge advocates from around the nation as part of their preparation and continuing legal education as military lawyers. Although a well-rounded attorney in all respects, Jonathan is probably most well known for his time as a senior prosecutor in the Office of the Attorney General, where he supervised and trained prosecutors in almost all of the different subject matter units within the division, while at the same time also handling a full caseload himself, including some of the most high-profile and difficult cases that have come through the Office of the Attorney General. His reputation then, as I have confirmed in my own experience as a supervisor, is that Jonathan has never and does not still shirk or is cowed or intimidated by the most difficult of assignments, but instead tackles them head on. As an example, many of us remember the infamous police corruption case, one of the toughest cases for a prosecutor to handle, and to take to trial. Yet Jonathan vigorously prosecuted and won those cases on behalf of the people. I was following the trial from off island where I lived at the time. But I remember my respect and admiration for Jonathan, again, whom I did not know personally at that time, growing and solidifying as I watched the case develop and unfold in the media and watched how he comported himself throughout. You know, a lot of lawyers measure their success by wins and losses, especially in the criminal justice system, prosecutors and defense attorneys, as I was a defense attorney myself. And although that does seem important at times, in my many discussions with Jonathan, I have learned that really his guiding principle is not the wins and the losses, despite his toughness and his success as a prosecutor. His guiding principle has always been seeking justice, no matter where it leads. I believe he will take that guiding principle to the court if he is confirmed as magistrate judge. With respect to the most important criminal matters that the magistrate judge position is required to handle, my honest opinion is that Jonathan is one of the best, if not the best, local attorney qualified for the job. And I commend the Chief Justice on Hawaii's selection. There are few others in Guam with the breadth and depth of knowledge and experience running the full gamut of the criminal justice system on the island. He is an expert on not only the substantive law, but on the criminal justice process as well. Because of his renown as a prosecutor, however, many are not aware that in private practice and with the JAG Corps, Jonathan practiced as a defense attorney as well, giving him an appreciation and perspective from both sides of the criminal justice system. As I mentioned earlier, I have had the privilege of working with Jonathan closely over the past several years, and I am confident that he will be an excellent magistrate judge. Jonathan can literally hit the ground running, given his experience in the law and his extensive experience in the courts as well. He is also well organized, places a premium on being well prepared, if not over prepared, and has a direct, honest, and forthright manner that I believe will serve the parties that appear before him well. For a judge, another necessary trait is the ability to control his or her courtroom. And for those of us who know Jonathan, his personal traits, and his natural leadership skills, we have no doubt that Jonathan will be able to do so. It is also my experience with Jonathan that he continually seeks to improve processes. I predict that his courtroom and the administration of justice in Guam will benefit because of this propensity. In closing, I know that we talk a lot about Jonathan's professional capabilities and his experience and all, but as a friend and as a colleague, I have gotten to know him personally, and that he is a very well-rounded person. Things that you don't know about Jonathan, but I think that have come out today. Talk about his very witty sense of humor. He is a trusted friend and confidant to many. He is well-liked and respected in our office, and his opinion and input is valued and highly sought after. On a personal level, I have witnessed firsthand that he is a devoted family man and a doting father. And although he doesn't like to admit it because he's a jiu-jitsu expert and a firearms expert and everything, he is also an artist. He's a musician as well. I think that Jonathan Kwan would be an excellent addition to the courts, and I ask this body to confirm him as Magistrate Judge of the Superior Court of Guam. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Attorney Espaldon. Senator Uggan.
Madam Vice Speaker and Chairperson of this committee, members of this committee, good morning and half a day. For some strange reasons, I feel some kind of chills, coming before the legislature to testify. Don't mind that, I'm just a little sentimental. My name is John Uggan. I come today to present testimony on behalf of Attorney Jonathan Kwan to serve as a magistrate judge in the Superior Court of Guam. I have known Jonathan since he was a child. His dad, who is the late Senator John Quan, and I go back a long time. I will always consider the late Senator John Quan as my best friend. I was privileged and honored to serve with him in the Guam legislature for several terms. I say this because I can tell you that Attorney Jonathan Kwan came from a very distinguished family that is very well respected in our community. Attorney Jonathan Kwan indeed has lived up to the standards that his family has raised him to be: respectful, honest, and fair to all. I couldn't agree more with the statements made by the Honorable Guam Supreme Court Justice Merriman, and I quote, "I am certain that Attorney Kwan will be fair, impartial, and conscientious if confirmed to serve in this capacity. I know that Jonathan Kwan will be fair and honest and just. Indeed, Jonathan Kwan is a gentleman, a distinguished soldier, and definitely a legal scholar. He has the judicial temperament, legal and professional background, and the continued desire to do right for island community. And I humbly ask for your vote of confidence to support Jonathan Kwan. Thank you very much."
Thank you, Senator Uggan. Please proceed.
Manina Sizuas and Hafadi, Guasi Sheila Sablan Cruz. I'm a little bit nervous, and I think that I'm going to go a little bit off of script of what I wrote today for Jonathan, because I think it's valid that I use the fact that I'm nervous because I'm on a panel of very distinguished individuals, and the panel prior shared exactly the emotions and thoughts that I have written on behalf of Jonathan Kwan. So I think it's valid that I share my nervousness because my experience with Jonathan goes back to when we were younger. He was the Kwan boy, and I was the Tsotli kid. So we didn't really know each other, but we knew of each other's families. We shared the same street. We'd ride the bikes on the same area. I'd deliver stuff to his grandma's shop, vice versa, but we didn't really know each other. Then, of course, we went through middle school, and he's always had this demeanor of openness, yet I'm in control. I can help you. You just gotta come to me. So as we were growing older, we never got the opportunity to learn more about one another, but we knew of each other, and we knew I had a respect for him. He's always shown as an older, our generation, you always looked up to the people older than you, and he's always had that persona that he is someone you can come to. So I got to know him when I was given the opportunity to work at the Attorney General's office. And I have to share this because the nervousness I have with these panel of prestigious people in our community, I am merely just a regular layman's worker. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a lawyer. And I met Jonathan because I was a victim advocate, and our role was to advocate for the victims. And my first approach with Jonathan was we had a complicated case. I just wanted to fight for what the victim wanted. And he's the attorney, and this is the man with the law. So I was afraid and extremely nervous to approach him, to tell him, this is what the victim wants. And in my nervousness, I actually came off very, in my nervousness and my need and passion to fight for the victim, I came off harsh. And not once did he cut me off. I whacked open his office door and I was just like, you listen here, Attorney Quan. This is what the victim wants. I was very adamant about getting across that the concerns of the victim. And not once did he cut me off. He allowed me to express my words, my feelings, my emotions. And then when all was said and done, he merely just asked me if I was done. And then he said, in the calmest way, that he heard what I have to say, but that his role first is to see what is allowable by law. And then we can take in the concerns of the victim's feelings and thoughts. But let's look at first what is allowable by law. And he gave me the first insight of what it was to advocate. It wasn't just to advocate based on emotions. It was to advocate with the use of those emotions, and to use that to make them understand that this is what we can do based on the law. And make these victims that I was working with understand that we're not against them, and it's not that we don't want to provide, but they need to understand that this is what the law allows you to do. This is where we can go. But he will push that limit. He will push it to almost satisfy not just what the law provides, but that the victim feels that they were heard. And as I was listening to these panels and everybody speak before me, I had this whole speech that but everybody has taken the words right out of my mouth. There are no greater words to use than what the people before me have shared, and they've said it much more eloquently than I would have. You know, it's an honor to know Jonathan. It's an honor to be with him, not only as a friend, but as a colleague. He never makes anybody below him, you know, as a supervisor. Even as my boss, I had the honor of working with him in his private firm. He's never undermined my abilities. He's never made me feel beneath him. Even when I was wrong, he made clear that although I'm wrong, he didn't degrade me. And even when I thought that I knew better than him as a lawyer, he reminded me that it's good that I'm knowledgeable, but there are certain limits that, you know, you have. And he never once told me as his office manager or his secretary or the advocate or his assistant at teaching in GCC to train these future police officers that what I have to share is no better than anybody else. So his ability to make people who are at a layman's level feel superior and important and valued, I think is something that the justice system will gain. He is able to he instills authority, but does not instill shame. He understands the community. He understands because he's diverse in the culture, and his diversity in the culture and his experiences has never tainted his ability to look at the whole picture. So I changed my whole speech, and I really ask that you take into consideration all the good that everybody has shared, and know that having Jonathan Kwan a part of the justice system as the magistrate judge will only strengthen what our court system has to offer. Thank you. Situs Masi.
Situs Masi, Ms. Sablan Cruz. Ms. Moylan?
Good morning, Madam Speaker, Vice Speaker. Good morning, Senators and committee members. Thank you for this opportunity to submit testimony in strong support of my good friend, Jonathan Kwan, to the position of Magistrate Judge for the Superior Court of Guam. My name is Kathleen Moylan, and I have known Jonathan for over 25 years. We became close when our paths connected in law school. We then worked as law clerks closely together and then proceeded in our professional journeys. Over the years, I was blessed with another wonderful opportunity to work with him in his capacity as a prosecutor and to handle a case together, Jonathan as the prosecutor and I as the victim advocate. I am extremely grateful to Jonathan for his friendship, his support, and guidance to me professionally as well as personally over the years. Jonathan has always been incredibly smart and hardworking. His personal and professional accomplishments are a reflection and product of his energy, his strong work ethic, his character, his leadership, integrity, and commitment to his family and our community. My family and I are extremely happy and so very proud of Jonathan. We are confident in his abilities to fulfill all the responsibilities of this position, and we know he will make an excellent magistrate judge. I humbly ask that you confirm my friend and support him in his nomination. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Moylan. Mr. Meno?
Buenos días, dan saludo, guahu si Joey San Nicolas y at Cardin Tinian. Fenena malagos na parabe extendion donclona si jus mosi, podiun sedijo parabehu dengan yesti na kwetpo i komiten i cultura zan justicia zan loki sedijo zabehu no recognisa oficialmente i spicador as Benjamin Cruz, Senator, dan e Vice Speaker as Therese Terlaje. Zan loki para todo e honorable na membro neste na komite. Malagzo na para behunay undangklo na si Jus Masi e Chief Justice as Chief Justice Merman, kumugiza gumanji e Teluhu as Jonathan Kwan, pero sedbi e mas gadbo na islangwahan, e mas mangi na mantotogwahan. Kumugiza pero sedbi e totogwam as Magistrate Judge o sino juez. Dangklo na si Jus Masi para si Chief Justice kumugiza gumanji si Senior Jonathan R. Quan, zan sedizo, Madam Vice Speaker, za behu alabamas, o sino behu taitay huzung, izo ku testimonio para iteluhu as Jonathan R. Quan para isizan i Magistrate Judge para Tatoguam. Por favor.
Si Jus Masi, Senor Mayor, Gitinian, welcome to Guam. Thank you very much for your testimony this morning.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Paris?
May I read my testimony statement?
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh. I thought you were going to submit that. Please.
Thank you very much. I would like to thank the honorable members of the Committee on Culture and Justice for the opportunity to submit my testimony and support for the confirmation of Jonathan R. Kwan for the position of Magistrate Judge of the Superior Court of Guam. Mr. Kwan's legal career spans over 2 decades and is highlighted with numerous awards and commendations. He started his legal career in the Los Angeles City Attorney's Office and then moved to Guam, where he clerked for the Superior Court, worked as a private attorney, and is currently serving as an Assistant Attorney General Solicitor. I am impressed by Mr. Kwan's devotion to his job, by his devotion to the territory, and his devotion and commitment to his country, as he also is a captain in the Guam National Guard and has served as a professor of criminal justice at the Guam Community College. I first met Mr. Kwan when we served as prosecutors at the Guam Attorney General's office. I was a mid-level attorney and he was my senior attorney. Mr. Kwan had the respect and continues to have the respect of his colleagues and his superiors, including the Chief Deputy Attorney General at the time and the Attorney General. When I served as Attorney General of the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, I requested then Attorney General Leonardo Rapadas to assess my criminal division and provide recommendations as to how to improve the division. AG Rapadas then assigned Mr. Kwan to conduct a thorough review of the policies and procedures, as well as to interview CNMI judges and AG and private attorneys. As a result of Mr. Kwan's work, the criminal division was able to improve its services, and his report and his recommendations are still used at the CNMI Attorney General's office to this day. As a former Assistant Attorney General in the territory of Guam, and as a former Attorney General of the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, I have had the honor and privilege to work with Mr. Kwan in various capacities. He has an uncompromising belief and loyalty in our justice system, and his moral and ethical character is defined by his fairness and his impartiality. He is a positive role model to aspiring indigenous attorneys and an inspiration to our Manhoban. I am confident that Mr. Kwan possesses the education, the experience, the passion, the temperament, and the fortitude to serve as magistrate judge, and I humbly seek the full and undivided support for his confirmation. Em cuenta ni tautotinian, un dankulu na si jusmasi por esta oportunidad, zau sosozu, todo dos hamzu, na por favor, confirma e telun mami, as Jonathan R. Kwan, kumugidza por setbi e tautoguam, gisizan magistrate judge. Sen mas, un dankulu na con respeto.
Si jusmasi, Mayor. Mr. Paris.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of this committee. Buenas and Hafade. My name is Greg Paris. I'm a resident of Tamuning, and I'm here in full support of Jonathan Kwan. I knew of Jonathan Kwan as a grade school classmate to my daughter, Therese. And so fast forward to adulthood, I've seen him demonstrate his skills as an attorney. Most recently, though, also I've seen him as a provider to his family. As a father and teacher to his daughter, and especially during playtime with my granddaughter, there were lessons, and disciplines that were doled out to the kids to settle conflicts during childhood play. But they were issued as needed, and with firmness and fairness. His guidance included respect for each other, sharing toys and coloring books and crayons, being careful not to damage their toys or rip the pages of the coloring books. And those lessons were very similar to the same ones we received from our parents and our grandparents. And those being respect for authority, respect for laws of God, laws of man, preserving your resources, making them last as long as you could, taking care of one another, doing what is right, being truthful. There's also the lesson of knowing that there were consequences for misbehavior. And so that included timeout corners and things like that. And so with those, I believe that Jonathan will carry forward these same values in the conduct and execution of his duties as a judge in the Superior Court of Guam. And I ask that you please give Jonathan your vote of confidence and confirm his nomination. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Paris. Are there any questions from my colleagues for this panel? Senator Castro?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to follow up with a question to the Mayor of Tinian. Do you practice law on Guam, or do you reside here?
Thank you, Mr. Senator. No, I do not practice law. I did practice on a temporary basis at the Attorney General's office, but I am not I'm not barred in the territory.
And you can elect not to answer the next question. Did you take the time and opportunity and resource just to provide testimony in support of Attorney Kwan's confirmation?
This was certainly one of the main reasons, but there is something going on Saturday that I especially want to attend.
Okay. Madam Chair, I bring this up because without a doubt, Attorney Kwan's credibility as an upstanding member of this community is evident in the testimonies provided. But for a colleague who practices law in the Marianas to fly here on his own accord speaks to Mr. Kwan's reach by way of his credibility as an attorney, but also the impact he's had upon the lives of not just the people of Guam, but the CNMI. And so I think it's noteworthy that this community, takes that into consideration. I want to thank you, Mayor. It's great to see you again. Welcome back. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Will Castro.
Any other questions? All right. I want to thank the panel. Thank you all for your testimony. At this time, thank you. At this time, I'd like to call on Attorney Quan, if he could present his testimony. I know he's been waiting very, very long time. And there are other people who came in later who would also like to submit testimony on your behalf. We will recognize them after the rest of our confirmation hearing and the hearing on the bill. But I'd like to hear from our nominee at this point. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Attorney Kwan. Please proceed when you're ready.
Thank you. If someone, members, Madam Chair, members of the committee, senators, if someone would, apparently while I've been sitting here, I've been promoted to Major. So if you could tell Major General Lianguro that, I'd appreciate it right away. I am humbled and quite embarrassed by the kind words that people have spoken about me today. As a longtime prosecutor, I am completely unaccustomed to kind words being spoken about me at all. I am grateful for the experiences I shared with all the people who testified earlier. And I am thankful that they are each a thread that make up part of the tapestry of my life. Buenos dias, mananajas y maniluhu. My name is Jonathan Kwan, and it is a privilege to have been nominated and to have the opportunity to appear before you today. I grew up in Santa Rita, Hagat, for most of my life. My mother, Veronica Kwan, and my father, John Kwan, always reminded me to work hard, educate yourself, and then bring the knowledge and training home. My father, who was a public servant and an Army officer, would usually follow up with, "If you don't come home and take care of our people and island, who will? Who's going to do it?" My father passed away just before my senior year in high school. And over the 30 years since, I have tried to heed his words and follow in his footsteps. I graduated from Father Dueñas and attended the University of Pennsylvania. I received my Juris Doctor from Loyola Law School in the legal field that I encountered. I started my career working as a law clerk for a newly appointed Superior Court judge by the name of Kathy Merriman. In fact, as her law clerk, she was my first client. I remember her words to me, "Don't screw it up." I've tried to follow that my entire career. I was in private practice for over 8 years, initially working for a very learned private practitioner by the name of F. Philip Carbolito, who surprisingly told me the same advice: don't screw it up. While in private practice, I was afforded the opportunity to teach law, criminal justice, and social science classes as an assistant professor tenured working full-time for the Guam Community College for 5 years. That was an amazing experience. For the past 7 years, it has been my privilege to serve as a judge advocate for the U.S. Army, Guam Army National Guard. I serve currently as a senior defense counsel for Guam in the Trial Defense Service. I have served the people of Guam as Assistant Attorney General prosecutor for over 10 years, and I currently serve as an Assistant Attorney General solicitor. I believe that all my training and experience has led me here. This is the next step. I possess the breadth of experience, and more importantly, the life experience to serve as a magistrate judge of the Superior Court of Guam. I am intimately familiar with the issues and the problems that face our island today that are being addressed through the judicial system. I believe I can help. I wish to continue to serve. I came home, and for the past 2 decades, I have tried to take care of our people and our island, just as my father and mother encouraged me to do. I am ready to continue my journey of service if you deem me worthy and qualified for this position. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Attorney Kwan. I want to be the first one on this panel to thank you for your service to the people of Guam all these years, and for your, especially for bringing your knowledge and your expertise and all your training home to serve the people of Guam. I also want to thank you for accepting this nomination for continued service to the people in this capacity as a magistrate. We all know that serving as a magistrate, you are going to be governed by the rules of judicial conduct, and it's a big responsibility, and it requires a certain type of lifestyle that you have to refrain from certain things in order that there will be justice. So I want to thank you for that sacrifice and those adjustments to your personal life that you're going to have to make. I'd just like to ask you a couple of questions to put on the record, and I asked this of most of the nominees, although you're the first nominee while I've been here for a magistrate. I just want to ask, do you have any continuing business interests that may be a conflict for you while you serve as magistrate? Or
I have shares in a family corporation that I'm just a shareholder. And I think I have a couple of shares of Bank of Guam that my mother gave me.
All right.
I think that's about it.
Thank you. And I
think I have 2 shares.
I also want to ask if you are, you'll be required to abide by the Code of Judicial Conduct. Are you willing to do this?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you very much. And again, I want to thank you for all your service. And I'd like to open the panel up, and I want to thank all of you who testified on his behalf. You've really given us some insight to things that are not before us right now. We have a record full of his academic and professional accomplishments, but the insight as to his, the totality of the person is very helpful in these types of situations. So I thank you all. Speaker Cruz? Senators? Senator Muña?
Mr. Kwan, your rank at the National Guard is?
Despite how much I may wish it is, I'm only a captain.
Okay, I wanted to make sure I address it correctly because I didn't want anybody to look at you that way. But Attorney Captain?
Captain, yes,
Captain. And now, thanks to Ms. Dana, you will always be Mr. Shaka to me.
I'm glad she didn't talk about anything else.
But she gave you a title that I can relate to, so I thank her for that. I feel for you as you go through the fire.
Double entendre.
I hear you have a good sense of humor, so I thought maybe you'd like that. I don't want to take up too much time, but I did want to acknowledge for the record that you did reach out to me, and we had a little pre-briefing before this confirmation hearing, as I'm sure you did with everyone else here on the panel. And you made time to come and see us.
I signed leave. I made sure I signed leave.
Yes. And okay, for the record, that too. Which kind of displayed your commitment to the opportunity that is presented to you. So I want to thank you and everyone who came out in support of you. Before I wrap up, is your mom here?
Yes, she is.
Is she? Can you point her out? Is that her? I just want to congratulate you, Mrs. Kwan, for raising such fine boys. I know you took on the role as mom and dad very early on, but I think it displayed your perseverance to succeed as a mom and to allow these boys to succeed as well. So I just wanted to commend you for that as a single mom for the duration of their education. I did ask you this question. I wanted to present it here in the panel, that your role as a National Guardsman, will that ever interfere with you being a magistrate judge? I mean, like deployment or anything like that?
The chance of deployment for the Guam National Guard judge advocates is fairly low. As I indicated to you in our meeting, the JAGs deploy as a detachment, usually of 15 to 20. On Guam right now we have 6 or 7 Army Guards JAGs, judge advocates. So the chances of deploying is quite low. Major Perez, Judge Perez right now, has been sitting for 10 years. He's been in the Guard for 16, and he hasn't deployed. So it's fairly low. In reference to any potential conflicts of interest, if this does occur, if you deem me worthy and confirm me, there is a plan in place to already limit my legal assistance work, and then focus primarily and solely on military administrative matters, just as we do with Judge Perez.
I don't doubt that there could be some coordination upon that, but I just wanted for the public that's watching, to understand that there is a lot of communication and collaboration between the two. So thank you so much, and good luck to you.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you very much. Do any of my colleagues have, Senator Lee?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and Sujus Mahasi, Attorney Kwan, for accepting the Chief Justice's nomination to this position. I also want to thank you for your service, not just to our island and our students, but also to our nation, as Senator Muña had pointed out. There were a lot of words and descriptors that were thrown around, and all the different folks who've come before us to testify on your behalf. So some of those were that you are trusted, that you are responsive, ready to accomplish the mission. You have high ethics. You have fortitude, integrity. One that really stood out to me is that you have a deep respect and love for Guam. And so I know that you had mentioned in your testimony that it was the words of your father that really compelled you to come back and to give back to our community. So I also want to thank you for that. And I want to thank all those who provided testimony here this morning. We, the committee, actually conducted a very thorough background investigation in you, and in addition to all these strengths, all of the questions were pretty much answered. We took a look at all the questions through your background investigation, but I wanted to give you an opportunity to discuss for the committee your ideas about judicial temperament, and if you have any areas for improvement on that score. There were a lot of really awesome strengths that were described by others and by yourself, but I just wanted to see or have you talk a little bit about judicial temperament, and then any areas that you think where you could possibly improve.
I've had the privilege to serve and work under two individuals who have proven to be excellent judges and justices. So I have excellent role models to follow. In remembering and watching them, temperament, you need to be quiet and listen to everything. You're not an advocate as a judge. You need to be quiet and listen to everything before you make a decision, and then carefully weigh what that decision is before you do that. I watched the speaker when he was a judge and then a justice. I appeared before him, Justice Merriman, Justice Carbolito. They all have it in common. You have to know what you're doing. You have to research and read before you go into that courtroom. And they had to be careful, be quiet, and keep an open mind before they made a decision. That's key. I have to, you're asking me how I can improve. If you choose to confirm me, I am going to have to make sure that I remind myself I'm no longer an advocate for either side. As you're aware, I was a prosecutor for a long time, and I was also defense counsel, so I have to make sure that I remind myself I have to listen, because the decisions that I make, if I'm confirmed, will affect people's lives. That person makes a decision now.
Thank you very much. And I think in some of the testimony that we've already heard this morning, we've heard from people whose difference you've already made in their lives. And so I agree with you. I think you do owe the people of Guam. I think everyone on this panel, we feel like we also owe the people of Guam, and that's why we're committed to these roles in public service. So I do want to thank you so much for, as the chair mentioned, committing to continue to serve the people. It will be very difficult, upon your confirmation. Some of the things that people have said that, and even in written testimony that I've read prior to this hearing, that it won't be difficult for you because you kind of lead a boring life anyway. So I want to thank you. That was in the written testimony. I'm not making this up. So I want to thank you for kind of keeping that, I guess, judicial temperament, and thank you for your service.
My wife keeps my keys at night, so I can't go anywhere.
That works too. Thank you.
Senator Ada.
That you had. And I think that's also very important, the fact that, your mom basically was mother and father for a long time, and certainly congratulate her for the excellent job that she did. But I will say right now, you certainly have my support.
Thank you, sir.
Senator Torres.
I'll be brief because we've been here for a while, but I just wanted to say that in our situations, in our jobs, a lot of times what we do becomes very high profile. And it was very refreshing and very reassuring to read testimony from your colleagues about the principled person that you are, and that you treasure as much and value as much what you do as much as what you don't do, in terms of not prosecuting or convicting where it's not warranted or it can't be ethically prosecuted. I think that that speaks volumes for a person when they can restrain themselves from taking action as much as they would going full force with action. And, you know, Attorney Espaldon used the phrase that seeking justice no matter where it leads. I mean, that is certainly very comforting and very positive to hear from your colleagues. So I just want to say congratulations, and I'm so glad that I sat here and listened to all this testimony. It opened my eye to things that I didn't realize about you as a person. So Sidus Masi, and congratulations on your nomination.
Thank you, ma'am.
Senator Espaldon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's always tough being the last because everybody has said what I wanted to say. So all I can say at this point is, Attorney Kwan, you have my full support. Thank you for stepping up to the plate.
Thank you.
Speaker Cruz.
Thank you very much. I think for full disclosure, Jonathan is my nephew. His great-grandmother and my grandfather are siblings.
That's right.
And so it's not that I didn't have any questions. I was just
being careful,
sharing the glow. And I wanted to be full transparency. And if I don't get recused from voting, you have my support. And I was very happy that you came in and you got some of the questions that I had answered by others. And so I'm very happy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you again, Attorney Kwan. I'd like to acknowledge that I'm very excited also by your practical experience for many years. I think us as member of the Guam Bar, we're always very happy when active members of the Guam Bar are appointed to the bench so that they understand the challenges of private practice, and you understand also the challenges of government practice, and will bring a balance and hopefully more efficiencies where possible. And you also have that balance of, as has been said, in criminal defense and criminal prosecution. So very, very important for our court system and for Justice Sidus Masi. I want to acknowledge that we received in advance of this hearing a written testimony also from Justice Phil Carbolito, Robert Kono, Joseph McDonald, Michael Pangilinan, Marianne Wolashuk, Cynthia Ekubi, Cynthia Cabot.
Thank you.
I guess that concludes the hearing then for Mr. Kwan, Sidus Masi. Thank you again to all of you who are here.
Thank you all. Thank you very much.
I'm just going to go for it. Our next item on the agenda will be the appointment of Michael Chrysostomo to a 4-year term as a member of the Criminal Injuries Compensation Commission. Mike, if you could join us up here, and also. We'll take a 1-minute break. Okay, we will resume. I want to thank all of you for your patience. Situs Masi for your patience, especially Father Pali Mike. And we will proceed now. If you don't mind, I'm going to have testimony about you, and then you will conclude. And we'll begin with Attorney General Elizabeth Barrett Anderson.
Good morning again, Madam Chairwoman and members of the committee. I'm honored to be here sitting to the left of Pali Mike in support of his renomination to the Criminal Injuries Compensation Commission. When I became Attorney General 3.5 years ago, one of my goals was to reactivate and get the Criminal Injuries Compensation Commission going and starting to hear applications. And Pali Mike has been a member of this commission with two governors. It was such a pleasure to have him and Denise Mendiola, as well as Dr. Lisa Flores. And with those three members on a 5-member panel, the CICC Commission has heard we've had a total of 105 applicants. 45 awards have been issued, representing $382,000. And we basically have hearings maybe every other month now. And he's always there, members of the commission, senators, he's always there. He has to be there because we only have 3 members to have a quorum of 5. And so both Ms. Mendiola and Dr. Flores and Pali Mike, we have a little WhatsApp chat. I'm on my way. What floor is it? Am I on time? He'll say I'm a little late, but I'm on my way. But there is never been a hearing that he has not been present. And I have to say that the work, I just asked him a few minutes ago before we started, how does he find the work? And he says it's getting harder, and it's getting harder, and it's getting harder, because the applicants and their seeking of awards for either funeral services, medical, loss of wages, or personal injury get harder and harder. So it's not an easy job. It is not an easy job. I think the commission members sort of sit there like judges. Someone is asking for an award, and it's not always that the commission approves the award. They have denied 7 awards because the statute is very clear what can be awarded and what is not awardable. So I just want to read just one sentence from my written testimony in support of Pali Mike, and it says, "He is truly a blessing." I have to say that. And so I ask for a speedy confirmation of Pali Mike as continued commission member on the Criminal Injuries Compensation Commission. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Attorney General. Are there any questions for the Attorney General this morning? Thank you very much. I'd also like to call Attorney Brooks, Kathy Rivera-Castro, Michelle Taitano, Kathleen Moylan, Gregory Perez, GPD Eugene Charfris. Is Eugene Charfris here? Please have a seat at the panel. And Ms. Taitano, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam. Good morning, everyone. Just want to say kudos to Pali for, again, stepping up in this other hat that he wears over there. And it is quasi, just like the parole board is. So and we also try to work with him on the pardon and review side, but he wears both hats as he needs. And I just want to ask you that you do confirm him there. He's needed there, and we need somebody to do that well-balanced work over there. So please, I ask for your confirmation of Pali Mike to that board. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you very much. Ms. Moylan?
Good morning, Madam Chair, Speaker, and members.
Could you pull the mic closer, please?
Okay. Thank you. Thank you again for this opportunity to submit testimony in strong support of my good friend Pali Mike Chrysostomo as a member to the Criminal Injuries Compensation Commission. My name is Kathy Moylan, and I have known Pali Mike for many, many years. This opportunity to support him today is very special for me and my family. My father was here earlier today to support Polly Mike as well as Jonathan Quan. During our school years together at San Vicente Catholic School, Polly Mike and I were always made to be partners. That partnership was a special friendship that complemented and supported me over the years. Those gifts of love and support and friendship from him, our school, our families, and our friends allowed us both, I believe, to grow into the advocates we are today, and I am very grateful. My family and I are very proud of all that Polly Mike has accomplished and contributed to really help our community. His membership on the CICC has been pivotal in all its accomplishments and assistance to our victims in our community. In that spirit of our school, our family, our friendship, my family and I strongly support Polly Mike. I humbly ask that you support and confirm his nomination and continued membership to the CICC. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Officer Charfus?
Buenas and Hafide, Madam Vice Speaker and honorable members of the 34th Guam Legislature. I am Sergeant Eugene C. Charfus and have served in the Guam Police Department for the past 20 years. In my current capacity, I serve as the officer in charge for the Domestic Assault Response Team, also known as DART, which is responsible for conducting investigations and rendering services to victims of domestic violence, sex crimes, and stalking. I come before members of this legislative body today with the greatest enthusiasm as I provide in full support testimony of Father Michael Chrysostomo's confirmation as a member of the Criminal Injuries Compensation Commission. Unfortunately, some of the heinous crimes committed in our community result in damages to property, injuries to innocent people, and in some unfortunate cases, they result in the death of loved ones. Most of these crimes become traumatic events and cause life-altering effects on victims and their families. After the dust settles, these same victims and their families are left behind in the chaos that follows as our criminal justice system addresses their perpetrators. The Criminal Injuries Compensation Program is designed to aid victims or their families, cover expenses, and are a direct result of being a victim of a crime. This includes medical bills, funeral expenses, loss of wages, property damage, or any qualifying costs incurred as a result of crime committed against victims who are residents of our island. This financial assistance can range up to $10,000 for non-medical expenses and up to $20,000 for medical expenses. The CICC plays an instrumental role in the review and approval process of victims and their families who are seeking financial aid under this program. As such, its members should hold the highest ethical standards and possess the ability to relate to victims. Who could relate more than an actual person who knows firsthand the trials and tribulations associated with losing loved ones as of a direct result of a crime? Having lost both his sister and niece to the domestic violence incident, Polly Mike has become one of the pioneering advocates on domestic violence on island and sexual assault. I've had the honor and privilege to work with Polly Mike for several years, in which I have come to know firsthand the experience and specialized training he possesses in the realm of domestic violence and sexual assault. It is without a doubt that his knowledge and skills would greatly contribute to the work and responsibilities of the CICC. As a member of the CICC, one would be expected to sacrifice and show the utmost commitment. As a man who has dedicated his life to God, Polly Mike has definitely superseded this requirement. His down-to-earth personality has made him one of the most approachable and well-loved priests in the Catholic community. His leadership and work as a pastor on our island and abroad has led to his many recognitions throughout the past several years. In 2016, he was nominated as Guam's representative for one of the most prestigious Catholic awards in the nation, known as the Lumen Christi Award. This award honors an individual or group working in mission dioceses, demonstrating the transformative power of faith. He was also awarded the Outstanding Crime Victim Advocate Award from the Attorney General's Office in 2014. and is the recipient of PICA's 2015 Best Parish Priest. That's my favorite. His calling by God to his profession clearly shows his commitment to helping others, as he has served in the Camelin Caridad Ministries mission in aiding our homeless community. Polly Mike's love for people has spread beyond our shores, and he has played a significant role in leading food drive missions for disaster victims abroad. He is also a former board member and currently serves as an active member of a nonprofit organization known as the Guam Coalition Against Sexual Assault and Family Violence. As a member, Polly Mike contributes tremendously to helping efforts to form a unified front between our island's community, faith-based, and government organizations in addressing sexual assault and family violence issues. In addition, Polly Mike is an honorary member of our police force. He is one of the clergy members who avails himself to provide mental and emotional support, as well as spiritual guidance to members of the Guam Police Department and victims following post-traumatic events. I am proud to say that Polly Mike is my friend and a partner of the Guam Police Department's domestic assault response team. He has shown true commitment and leadership in every aspect within and outside of the church, making him the perfect candidate to the CICC. As Polly Mike has shown most of us to have faith and trust in the things beyond this world, it is time for us to place our faith and trust in him by confirming him to the Criminal Injuries Compensation Commission. I humbly ask for your vote of confidence towards his confirmation so that we can help Polly Mike do what he does best, help people. Si Diyos maasi por itempon mizo pago.
Si Diyos maasi, Sergeant Sharpers. Do any of my colleagues have have questions for members of the panel? All right, thank you very much. I'd also like to ask Mr. Paris, did you want to testify today? I know you've been waiting a long time. Yes, please, I called you earlier, yes. Mr. Paris, I'd also, please come on up, and I'd like to acknowledge the presence and support of this nomination, Sherry Wagner, Walter Salas, John Weisenberger, Ed, and other police officers here. I just can't read the last name. Cynthia Cabot, Officer Equilani, Kathy Rivera Castro, Jim Brooks, Fred Leon Guerrero, Maya Wigglesworth, Paul Hage Paul. Where is he? He was here. Adriana Buendichu, Doris Kichichu, Walter Salas, Sean Wagner. Mr. Paris, please proceed.
Good morning, Madam Speaker and members of the committee. Thank you again for this opportunity. Again, my name is Greg Perez, resident of Muña, and I'm here in support of Polly Mike. I have to admit I'm not familiar with the commission that he is about to be a member of. Don't know much about it, but I do know Polly Mike, and I know that he does have the skills and the knowledge to work through any difficulty or any problems, especially the difficult ones. And so, at a minimum, plus he's also our parish priest, so I don't want to get on his bad side. But anyway, but please give him your vote of confidence. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Paris. Polly Mike, if I may also add that we had received in advance of this hearing written testimony from Judge Arthur Barcenas, Artie Logan, Caesar Cabot, Mayor Johnny Canata, Therese Areola, Director of Sanctuary, Cynthia Cabot, the Executive Director of the Guam Coalition Against Sexual Assault and Family Violence, and Kathy Castro. If now, Polly Mike, if you may proceed.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and good morning to all of you. I woke up this morning, began the day with celebrating Mass and preaching to the congregation about acquiring meekness and humility. And this morning, while we were focusing on seeking justice, I can only think about how justice and meekness and humility kind of pair up. And in our line of work and the work that I do, meekness and humility is very difficult and very challenging in a world where it is self-seeking and we continue to be more individualistic. To think not only of ourselves, but to think of others is a very unique characteristic. And I don't claim that I am a persona of that, but I certainly try my best to do what is right, to do what is necessary and appropriate within the law, and to be able to serve the people that I've been entrusted and have the care for. While taking on a new parish at St. Anthony's, it's a huge parish. I'm not used to the complexity of a large parish along with a parochial school. And taking that on now with this renewed commitment to the CICC. I thought I was going to retire, actually, from the CICC, but Attorney General says, you're not going anywhere. Without the third person, we couldn't have a quorum, and yes, she could do it on her own by law, but we felt the need to continue the Commission's activity and work. It's very challenging. As the Attorney General mentioned, there's plenty more work to be done. The law continues to need to be reviewed. We have difficulty sometimes in trying to understand what the lawmakers had intended, but we do our best and do due diligence to execute the necessary and appropriate compensation that has been given to us by law. And thank you to the Attorney General's office, to Madam Attorney General, of course, Elizabeth Barrett Anderson, and to her staff, and to the Compensation Commission staff that we have with us. They are extraordinary. They are unique individuals who make it so much easier for us commission members. We're not trained to do the work that we were asked to do, to call a hearing, to be able to know the rules of hearing. I mean, they actually have placards and index cards for us to read out of so that everything is by the law, and if it's challenged, at least we have followed it, things like that. So they actually trained us, and what I would recommend that if any future commission members that will be on this is that they have some form of training, because it is necessary for us to be able to understand the law. I mean, thank God Attorney Jonathan Kwan is an attorney for many years, and he had that going into being this magistrate judge. But for many of us, Dr. Lisa Flores is in the medical field, Ms. Denise is in the business field, and I'm in the religious faith-based organization. We look at each other and we're like, you do it, no, you do it, no, you decide. But we all come together and make that decision unanimously that if it's good for the victim, if it's best within the reality of the law that we've been given, then we make that judgment. But that's not an easy task. And to anyone in the commission or who has served in commissions before, it takes a lot of knowledge and experience to be able to do that. So I'm privileged and honored that many of the sessions that we've had thus far continue. We work on it. We look at what we've done. We look at what we've decided. We looked at what we went wrong with and try to learn from those mistakes, because we do make mistakes. But we were able to correct those mistakes and learn from them. And thanks to the counsel that the Attorney General offers to us, she's been a great mentor to all three of us in how we manage the hearing. And one thing that I've learned from her was give time to the victims and the victim survivors that come before us. They have to retell their story, which is, for many victims, if you hear them, of course, they tend to be emotional. They tend to be in their story where you have to kind of empathize and be able to relate to them. And as commission members, we all look at each other like, how do we do this? And their expenses are immense. I mean, you have medical expenses, hospital expenses that deal in the 200,000s. And we can only give them 20,000. Funeral expenses. It's expensive to die and to be buried. I'm not sure if even 10,000 is enough that's given by law, or even personal property. So when a victim or an individual becomes a victim of crime, it just, as one individual said, my whole life has changed, and I didn't ask for this. And so when we hear those stories and we hear those people sharing their stories, we take a lot of that into consideration. And we apply what is there in law, but we also try to see what we can do to be able to be there for them and offer other services that may not be mentioned in the law, but at least they are in the path of recovery and the path of healing. So I thank you for the opportunity to continue to serve on the commission, if that's be your decision. I look forward to doing it again. I've been there for 2 governors and a few attorney generals, and so I'm looking forward to just doing what I've been asked to do, which is to serve.
Thank you very much, Polly. Are there any questions? Senator Lee?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sisters Masi, Polly, Mike, for answering the call on many levels. So you answered the Lord's call, you're answering the call to the people of Guam once again, and responding to Governor Calvo's nomination to be a part of this board again. So you've already served for a number of years. You were talking a little bit about empathy and what you have to do in this work to help victims heal and listen to their stories. So I also want to thank you for that work. It's difficult, and we're placing a lot of trust in you and in the members of the commission to do that work on behalf of the people of Guam. You were talking a little bit also about the training necessary to really understand the law and make sure that you apply it, you make your judgments accordingly. What I wanted to ask you about is, participating on this commission for the past few years, I'm sure that there have been times when you felt hamstrung, maybe by the limited resources. So I just wanted to give you an opportunity to let the committee know about any challenges that you can share with us with regard to the commission and how we might be able to improve that given our limited government resources, if you have any suggestions.
I believe we review that in the commission and with Madam Attorney General. There are our counterparts in other states that we can contact and made contact with. She's offered also to send commission members to trainings and other conferences, or even to do webinars. And even just belonging to part of the coalition here on Guam. The coalition serves as a nonprofit organization with government agencies and nonprofit organizations, and just their resources alone can help us in training and in resources. And so that's one thing I would like to tap on. I haven't spoken to Cynthia about it, but we'll see what we can do. But I'm more talking about
she's giving the thumbs up, so I think it's good.
About how we can run. I mean, we've never run hearings and sessions prior to this whole thing. And Madam Attorney General was able to kind of walk us through that, and having the councils there, and if there's a case that's ongoing, what not to say and how to say it, or things like that, where we as commission members will not put ourselves into jeopardy, and the case gets thrown out for whatever reasons, and or even the difference between restitution and compensation. Many of our victims will come in and they just want the money. And they don't care how you call it, how you identify it, but they need the money to pay their bills or to pay for replacement of whatever property it is. And so just learning those type of terminology and vocabulary is very crucial for any commission member who's trying to relate to the victim that comes before them. So constant training and resources, if maybe within the law can be provided that commission members have that background training, or is afforded that with budget, with I understand the budget constraints, but I think it's necessary and very crucial to the success of the CICC.
Situs Masi, Polly, Mike, and you also mentioned taking advantage of webinar training and maybe some things that may be available online or perhaps even for free. So yeah, taking advantage of that I think is really, really good for the commission members. One of the things that I ask every single board member that comes before us is, and in your particular case, looking through your resume, we served on the sanctuary board together for many years, so I'm grateful for that experience with you. But you serve, obviously, now at St. Anthony Church, on the sanctuary board, on the Catholic Social Services board, on the Guam Memorial Hospital Ethics Committee, this Criminal Injuries Compensation Commission, on the Vero board, on the Guam Homeless Coalition, and it goes on and on and on. You're the director of the Catholic Chuukese Faith Association, so you have a lot of hats that you wear from time to time. So my question to you is, how often does the commission meet, and are you able to give your time and attention to the commission to ensure that they have quorum when they meet and they're an effective and active commission?
I believe the Attorney General testified to that. I have not missed a meeting, a session thus far. I believe that it is necessary that any one of our commission members have to, we cannot be not present, because otherwise the quorum will not happen. We have as much as we can to have the session hearings every month. The challenge is getting the victims to fulfill and to meet the eligibility requirements. If that is not met, then the commission does not have any work to do in that sense. And so what we try to do now, coming up this September is our next hearing. We have 20 cases that are lined up. We will try to do those 20 cases all in that one hearing, or we break up into 2 hearings. But the plan is to tackle the 20 cases. So
Again,
yes, I mean, commitment is there. You have
Okay.
my wholehearted commitment in there. Likewise with all the other boards I serve, I try to give as much time as I can to them.
Thank you very much, Polly. Again, we really appreciate your service and look forward to you continuing in this role, especially because you bring a wealth of institutional knowledge now that you've had all this training, and we want to thank you so much for your commitment to our community. Sidus Masi.
Thank you. Senator Muña?
Thank you, Polly Mike, for continuing this journey again. And I know we do all things through God's will, right? So this is His will for you. I just have a quick question. Maybe this question could have been directed to Attorney General, but maybe you can answer. There's 3 commission members now currently. Is there a reason why we haven't been able to fill maybe the other 2 spots for the commission?
My understanding, Senator, is that many of them do not want to go through a rigorous line of questions by the senators. A lot of them don't want to come before the committee to answer questions that they may have. That's kind of my understanding of many of the ones that I've asked. There are a few others that we've asked that are willing to come forward and be strong advocates to doing that, and of course they will endure this type of questioning. But again, what I share with them is that first of all, you're an advocate. Come forward. We need you. Second, it's a service to the community. If that's where your heart is, then come and serve. 3, I'm sure our senators are just doing their due diligence and having to ask the hard questions, but it's what they have to do as senators to ensure that they get the right person into the right commission and committee, and not to be afraid, to be able to do that and to have the courage, knowing that we'll be there with you. And so knowing that, I think we have a couple of names that are on there that we've submitted to the governor's office. Now it's just a matter of them looking at their investigation, and hopefully we'll submit it into this committee for further review and approval.
Yeah, I just feel like maybe that would alleviate some of the stress that the 3 of you have, that to be there at all times. Not that you wouldn't, but
Sure.
it would alleviate some of that stress. And
Yeah.
I don't understand why you would think this panel is so intimidating.
I remember I wanted to go to the Philippines and for a weekend and leave on Friday, and the Attorney General says, "You're not going anywhere." And the words keep coming to my mind.
Thank goodness there's 4 weekends in a month.
Yes.
But, thank you so much for your commitment again, and I just feel like maybe we could be a little bit more aggressive at getting more commission members in there so that it could relieve some of your.
I would do my
your
best.
stress. Thank you.
Thank you again, Polly Mike, and all of you who came to testify. I appreciate your repeat service on this commission. As you said, it is a difficult one, and I thank you for your leadership as chairperson also. So, Sidus Maasi. That will conclude this the hearing on the confirmation of Polly Mike. Sidus Maasi. All right. Thank you. All right. Thank you again to all of you for your patience today. The final item on our agenda will be Bill number 238-34. It was introduced by Senator Louise Muña. I'd like to ask those who signed up to testify to please come to the table. That includes the Attorney General, Elizabeth Barrett Anderson. And, all right. If the sponsor of the bill would give her opening statement.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Bill 238-34 quite simply updates the list of crimes that are subject to a court action initiated by the Guam Criminal Injuries Compensation Commission. These crimes that were added, child solicitation and child pornography, reckless conduct, terroristic conduct and terrorizing, robbery, home invasion, and carjacking. Some of these criminal offenses were not crimes in Guam law at the time the Criminal Injuries Compensation Law was created. By expanding this list of crimes, the Commission now has the ability to sue perpetrators of the crime and if any, their enablers. The proceeds from these lawsuits will be deposited into the Criminal Injuries Compensation Fund and can be used by the Commission to help the victims of these crimes. The funds collected from these lawsuits are in addition to any fines required to be paid pursuant to public law. Sometimes justice requires more than a prison sentence or a fine. It requires that criminals and their enablers compensate the victims for their losses and pain and suffering. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. There was also a Walter Salas who signed up in support of the bill. All right, Madam Attorney General.
Thank you very much once again, Madam Chairwoman and members of the committee. I am here to testify in support in part and against in part Bill 238-34 as introduced by the kind Senator Muña. As you've heard in the prior testimony, the purpose of the Criminal Injuries Compensation Commission and the program is to provide an award to victims of crime different from restitution, primarily intended to compensate to victims in the area of medical expenses, lost wages, personal injury, and funeral service. So it's a very limited fund and how the Commission can provide awards. The bill seeks to add 5 new areas of the law, 5 crimes, as the kind Senator had indicated, and it is not totally clear how some of the newly added crimes, and as you heard Polly Mike, he will turn to us and ask, how do we interpret the law when someone comes in for an award? So I need to know some information with regard to the types of crimes. The ones that we have a little question on are 22 and 23. With regard to 24, 25, 26, and 27, 24 being robbery, that's fairly clear. Aggravated arson and arson, that's 25. 26, home invasion, and 27, carjacking. Those are very clear and specific types of crimes. The more difficult one is reckless conduct, terroristic conduct, and terrorizing. That's like a whole bowl of facts and situations and crime that fall into reckless conduct. Reckless conduct is broad, it's wide, and oftentimes reckless conduct is added to the overriding crime, assault and reckless conduct. Criminal sexual conduct, reckless conduct somehow. So reckless conduct is and can be a crime of its own, but Senator, it is vast as the facts can be and the situations can be. Terroristic conduct and terrorizing likewise is so vast and so broad. Unlike arson, when you burn something. Unlike carjacking, we know what that is. Home invasion, we understand that. And I think that 23, I would like to ask that it be deleted because reckless conduct and those other 3 types of crimes are normally added to the charging document of many of the crimes that are existing in the statute already. So unless there is something more specific, reckless conduct, that specifically involves serious bodily injury. So that kind of defines it. Terroristic conduct that somehow results in personal injury such that there was, unfortunately, I hope not a funeral, but if there's a funeral, then there's a homicide and a murder charged, or reckless conduct where someone was personally injured. But if someone was personally injured, we're going to charge assault, aggravated assault. So reckless conduct would be there already. For child pornography, I was wondering if perhaps, again, maybe there were constituents who came to you who indicated that they applied to the criminal injuries compensation program but were denied because not eligible because this specific crime was not in there. Solicitation of children or child pornography, again, what would be the injury or the damage involved? Possibly counseling for a child? That could be it. I'm not quite sure. Child pornography, it wouldn't be the reputation of the child as damages. So I'm trying to find out, if you're going to put a crime in here, you need to also have the correlating damage and make sure that the types of damage awards that are allowable under the current law for the criminal injuries compensation fit within those kinds of awards. Hospital bills, funeral services, personal injury, to some extent, property damage. Home invasion, someone breaks a window, probably get an award for that. Also, just understand that the commission also does not make awards where there's insurance companies that pay for it. So if someone invades the house and there's property damage, the victim, we are going to ask the victim first, turn to your insurance company to see if that's covered. And then beyond the Criminal Injuries Compensation Commission, which is like this upfront award that the victim can get whether a crime is solved, charged, or gone to conviction. So actually a victim can get an award even if the case is never solved and there's never been a judgment. But if the case is charged and there is a judgment, then there's restitution. So on the other end is restitution, which does not have the limitations that the CICC program has of personal injuries, funeral expenses. And Polly Mike said he didn't know the difference between an award and restitution. Well, let me tell you, nor did the judges know. When we first started making awards, they're going, well, why are we getting those awards and why are we doing restitution? I had to explain to the judges that restitution has a different concept. It is not limited to the parameters like the CICC is. And different from an award is to get some money into the hands of the crime victim without waiting sometimes 2 years, 5 years, or never, if their case is never solved. Because a criminal case, as we all know, can take a long, long time. And even when you get a judgment that has $10,000 in restitution or $20,000 in restitution, good luck collecting on it. Good luck collecting on that one. And so actually we're working with the parole board, my office right now, and we are representing the parole board in going after defendants who are released or inmates who are released from prison and they're on parole. We're collecting restitution for the parole board against the defendant for the victim on the other end. So my recommendation is, I'm not recommending that 22 be deleted because perhaps we can get some information and it's for the record here so that I can then train the commission members. But reckless conduct number 23 is far too broad and I would recommend the deletion of that. I'm also recommending in my testimony that you incorporate into the fund language. It's on my second page. Whatever new crimes you add, then please include it. And I have here 20 through 27, but it'll be 26 if you take out 23, obviously. So make sure that the law says any fines collected by the court for any new crime that you add to the statute, that the money goes to the fund, and otherwise it'll go to the court.
Thank you very much, Attorney General. Are there questions, Senator Muña?
Thank you so much, Auntie. I'm sorry, excuse me. Attorney General. That just slipped out, Auntie Liz. But
otherwise, it's anti-judge, right?
Anti-judge. That was what was going to come out. Thank you so much, though, for your insight and definitely your education, expanding my knowledge as far as the commission is concerned. Because I have to be very honest that when I first came out, it was like, wow, what does this do? I didn't know. And my team, amongst meeting, felt that these particular crimes should be added to the list. Definitely, we will consider all of your suggestions and we'll give and provide you with a little bit more information as far as child pornography and child solicitation. We figured maybe medical services, psychological services could be included as far as that particular crime is concerned. Terroristic conduct and terrorizing, there could possibly be some lost wages involved in terroristic conduct and terrorizing, which is one of the reasons why we included it, just to allow the victims to know that they could possibly have some type of compensation in regards to that. Maybe we did expand it a little bit too broad by adding reckless conduct, but that could be something that we could also consider, maybe just keeping in the terroristic conduct or terrorizing as far as lost wages, maybe something involving their business that they could have possibly lost wages on, or even possibly injuries. But I do understand, and I respect your testimony. It really does enlighten my knowledge of the commission. And quite frankly, I feel a little bad that it may even add a little bit more work to the commission, and they're already struggling enough, just the three of them.
No, not at all, Senator. This is the body that makes the policy, and if you believe as a policy matter that the types of crimes need to be expanded, that is all absolutely within your authority. As much as you can provide on the record or even in the debate on the floor to clarify it so that when it comes to a victim coming in on the application, then we understand that this particular crime that's been added is looking towards psychological services, some type of medical services, some type of loss of wages. We wouldn't be able to compensate their business. So it might be narrow in effect, but you're providing the victim an opportunity to apply, and it's not all clear that the commission will or won't award it, but at least an opportunity to be heard and have a chance to seek an award. And then, Senator, should the commission deny, because the commission has been denying some awards, we always indicate to the victim, you still have an opportunity for restitution, which is before the judge when a crime has been charged and judgment entered. So there's still a second opportunity on that time.
Okay, so I guess in actuality, nothing in life is guaranteed.
No.
Right? But at least we give them the opportunity. And so thank you so much. Thank you so much, Auntie Judge.
Thank you. I guess if we expanded the crimes that are compensable, that would also expand the list of fines that would be added to this fund. Yes. So, all right. Senator Torres?
I just wanted to take the time to acknowledge your presence here all morning and your invaluable contribution. You know, while we don't dispute that expanding the crimes eligible for restitution is sound and non-controversial, I do appreciate all the handouts that you've provided and the perspective, because we clearly need to do this smart if we're going to go down that road. But mostly, thank you very much for being here. Your presence here, and I'm so glad that you also have influence over the nominee for the magistrate judge, for Polly Mike, I'm sorry, such that he would know not to step down from his duties on the commission. But thank you, Attorney General.
Thank
you.
We
appreciate your input.
Senator, thank you again.
All right. I also want to acknowledge that some of the handouts that the senators have received come from the website for the Criminal Injuries Compensation Commission, and those were very helpful. So I want to thank you all for that. And I want to thank the members of the commission who stayed to hear the testimony on this bill, because they are the ones who are going to be implementing it. And I thank you, Attorney General, again for your testimony today and for your service.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. There being no additional individuals to present further testimony on this bill or on the confirmations, this committee will continue to remain open until July 23 for the acceptance of any additional information or public testimony on these agenda items. You may submit testimonies to my office directly here at the Guam Congress Building at 163 Chalan Santa Papa, Hagåtña, or to the mailroom of the Guam Legislature, or through email at senator.terlajeguam@gmail.com. Again, I thank my colleagues for their presence during this hearing. I thank all of you who came to testify and for your support of the nominees, and all of you who came to help clarify implementation of this new bill. Si Diyos maasi. This hearing is ended.